10:58, 2 minutes early. I'm gonna close the door. I was signed up, but sometimes she's not, so we'll see if she takes it. So much tech now. In the yoga world. Somewhat rousing. You're sitting looks good.
Surround mode received.
Right. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to Gentle Yoga. So I'm going to share with you a little personal story to start. So I've been, which some of you know, but we've had our house under construction almost this entire year. Started in February because we're having my husband's parents, my in-laws, come and move with us. They're in South Carolina right now. My father-in-law is in this advanced stage of this Parkinsonian disorder, so he's not doing well health-wise. And we're coming to the end of the project. And so now mentally, I've been so focused on the building of this that now I'm kind of switching gears to the like, okay, this is what's this going to look like once they come up, and once we're actually, able to kind of take our house back and live. And one of the things that's happened, unfortunately, throughout this process is that we've had this huge falling out with my brother and sister-in-law, who are just very against this whole thing and think that have basically accused us of stealing his parents' money to improve our house or something. It's been really awful. And part of what my mind is doing now is like, oh, like what's Christmas going to be like? Right? Because we've just been like really just heavily avoiding them since this kind of exploded, right? And now I'm kind of like, huh. And my mind is doing that thing that our mind does, where it's like, what if this happens, it's going to be like this, like worst case scenario, that kind of like path that you can go down where it's 2 a.m. and you're wide awake and you're like, how did I start thinking, how did I even get to this, like that I've created in my head? And so I'm trying to really consciously not do that. And instead to be like, well, we're just going to wait and see, right? Let's take it like one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, and feel out each situation as it arises. And so much of the ability, and I'm not saying I do that well, because it's still a huge challenge, and I think it is for all of us as just humans in this very human experience, is that yoga has given me a lot of practice in this, so that even though I may not be still mastering it by any means, I can at least now recognize like, okay, I'm spiraling here. Let's like pull it back and focus on being present. And this is what yoga asks of us, is that can we leave what's happening in our lives at the door for this time as much as possible? Like if we're carrying things around with us can we just put that bag down, right? Like our shoes at the entrance and say, okay, at this time, I'm going to be as much as possible fully here in my body in this moment with my breath and witness what comes up in not only my body and also in my mind with my thought processes, but also give space for myself to kind of move through energy and emotions that may need to be processed. And that's one of the gifts of time on your mat doing asana or any other type of yoga, is just the ability to practice this tool and to cultivate a practice that can then show up for us in the times when we really need it, at 2 a.m. when we're freaking out, right? So we're going to do that a little bit today. And also the thing about yoga is that we come to class and we put ourselves in these positions that most of us aren't doing every day. Like you're probably not doing yoga poses like in your kitchen at home while you're cooking dinner, right? Or twisting or contorting. We put ourselves into these shapes that are, by their very nature, not so comfortable. There's discomfort that comes up. And that's one of the funny things, like Anthony and I were talking before class about like, what is gentle yoga? And I've been teaching it for a number of years. And people used to be like, well, wait, this isn't easy. And it's like, no, yoga is not easy. Sometimes there's just an expectation that it's going to be easy because it's beginner, because it's gentle. And that's not always the case. It's not really the case. It does feel relaxing afterwards or sometimes during, but very often these poses can bring up a lot of discomfort, and we don't necessarily enjoy being in discomfort as human beings. And so this asana practice says, can you hold this pose and be in a place of discomfort, not pain, but just maybe, you know, why am I doing this again? And stay present with yourself through it, knowing that it will end, so that way, when we're in these like massively uncomfortable situations that life brings up for us, where we just want to run and escape or have it end, or you know, whatever our reaction to it is, instead, can we be present for it and breathe through it? So let's all take a nice comfortable seat. And by that, I encourage you to sit up on something, even if it's comfortable for you to sit on the ground. Having your hips and your pelvis elevated high enough, like I could even do another blanket for myself. So if I'm even like this, the tops of my thighs right here, I want those to be higher than my knees. And I think that they are right now, but maybe even a little higher is better. Because what that does is it allows our hip flexor muscles and this big muscle called our psoas to not have to work so hard. And you can feel it. So if you take your hands and bring them here to the tops of your thighs and then lift your knees up. Do you feel that? That like tension, that muscle engage? So now let your legs go, and if you're sitting up high enough, you can feel that that relaxes a little. Yeah. So that's what we want. And then you can move the flesh, just manually kind of pull your butt away so that you're more on your sitting bones. And then please close your eyes. And take a moment and feel into your seat, your hips, and notice the weight distribution between your left and your right sitting bone, and see if you can level that out. And then find a little tilt of your pelvis, so that if your pelvis was a bowl, it would be upright and wouldn't be tilting and spilling whatever was inside. So you want to move more towards the front of your sitting bones. And then once you have that, some kind of comfortable-ish position of the lower half of your body, let it get heavy. So let the weight get heavy and wide, and feel that the parts of your body that are connected to the ground are rooted and anchoring down. And then from there, as you breathe in, lengthen up your spine, let the crown of your head rise up towards the sky. Glide your hands back on your thighs until your elbows are just under your shoulders. And on your next breath in, take your shoulders up, back, and down. Now bring the very center of the top of your head just over your tailbone. And for most of us, this will mean that we just very subtly lean back. Notice your breath. If it's available to you, breathe in and out through your nose. And notice where you feel your breath in your body. So perhaps it's mostly in your chest and up towards your shoulders. See if you could consciously deepen your breath so that you draw the breath down into your body and the belly rises and falls as you breathe. So this is a diaphragmatic breath where we're engaging the diaphragm to fill up the lungs fully with oxygen, and to empty the lungs fully as we breathe out. And then once you have your breath kind of steady and going in this different pattern, and know that this too takes a lot of practice. So you just do your best. But then take a moment and notice your tongue in your mouth. Which maybe even just that awareness is like, oh wow, my tongue is pressing, it's really tense. And see if you could relax your tongue down and let it get heavy and wide on your lower palate. You could let go of any gripping in your jaw and make a little space between your lower jaw and your upper jaw. And then widen the corners of your eyes and let your eyeballs descend back into their sockets. See if you could unfurl your brow and smooth out that space right in between your eyebrows. Perhaps here you become aware of some tension you had been holding that you've now consciously released. And just how much of that we carry without even noticing. So for this next 45 minutes or an hour that we have together still left, can you let go of as much of that as you can, as much of the stress that you've been carrying, the worry about the future or the obsession or dread about the past, and let yourself just be present here in your body. And when your mind takes you out of the present moment, which it will, because that's its job, see if you could just lovingly call your awareness and attention back. Like, oh yes, thank you, brain. I see where you're taking me, and I'm not available for that right now. And then please bring your hands together in front of your heart. I invite you to set an intention for your practice today, and it could just be this awareness of when the mind takes us out of the present. It could be to give yourself permission to not worry about the future. It can really be anything that speaks to your heart. And then we'll seal in our intentions and begin our class with 3 deep cleansing breaths. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And then open your mouth and let it go with a sigh. 2 more like that. Go ahead and gently bow your head to your heart, honoring yourself in advance for your practice today. And then slowly open your eyes and release your hands. So let's come off of our props now. Just move the blankets off to the side and you'll come to a cross-legged seat again. This time, switch the cross of your legs. Bring your hands down by your side so that you're up on your fingertips. See if you could recreate that seat where you're tilting your pelvis upright, more towards the fronts of the sitting bones. Take a deep breath in and reach your right arm up in line with your ear. Root down again through the sitting bones. Inhale, lengthen through your fingertips, and exhale, reach out and over to the left. Keep grounding more through that right sitting bone. And see if you could get a little longer through your side body. Your gaze could be down towards the ground, straight out towards me, or up under your armpit. And then with every breath in, there's a lengthening. Maybe you're coming out just a little bit. And then with every exhale, perhaps you stretch a little more over to the side. Inhale back up to center, exhale, release, and we'll get ready for the second side. So inhale, left arm up, ground down through your sitting bones, inhale, lengthen through your fingertips, and then exhale, reach out over to the left. To the right. Root down more through your left sitting bone. And same thing here, pay attention to how you're holding your head and where you're looking. See if you could find that long line of energy from the base of the spine through the crown of the head. And then maybe you notice that even though we're holding the pose, that it's not static, that as we inhale, there's more length, maybe you don't lean over quite as far, and as you exhale, perhaps a little bit deeper. Inhale, both arms up, and then exhale, you're going to twist over to the left. So your left hand comes behind you. Right hand to your left knee. Keep your navel facing forward here. So even if this is too much, you could bring your right hand back to your right knee and twist this way. It's good modification for pregnancy if anyone needs that. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale. Maybe you twist a little bit more. But the key here is that you twist from the upper back. So if you could keep your belly button kind of facing towards your feet, maybe you find that you don't twist quite as much, but it gets into a different part of the body, the upper back, which is typically tighter. Then inhale, reach your arms up, and exhale over to the other side. Same thing here. Can you keep your pelvis with your hips level, navel facing forward? Twist starts the mid back as you rotate. And then your gaze is the last thing that follows as you look back over your right shoulder. Every inhalation, little length, maybe you untwist a tiny bit, and every exhale brings you back into the pose. Very subtle movement. Inhale, sweep both arms up as you unwind, and here, interlace your fingers, steeple your index fingers. Take a quick look down at the front of your body and notice what you did as you looked down. You probably pulled your ribs back, right? So you want to keep the ribs knitting in so your abdominal muscles are engaged. Then lengthen back up through your fingers. And we're just going to move through a little mini cat-cow here. So as you inhale, arch your spine, look up. And as you exhale, round your back. So really just a little subtle. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, drop back in. Couple more like this. Inhale, come back to neutral and release. Let's come onto all fours. If your knees are sensitive, you could take a blanket underneath your knees, give them a little padding. But the poses are uncomfortable enough, you don't have to suffer through aching knees too. So from here, find a tabletop position where your wrists are under your shoulders and your knees are just under your hips, or maybe even slightly behind, so you have a lot of length and space through your side body. Tuck your toes under, little press out through your heels and a little hugging in of your shins. Same thing here where your ribs kind of knit in and you start really neutral with the low back stabilized. And then we'll move through cat-cow here. So as you inhale, you find a little back bend, take your gaze up. As you exhale, round through your back, tailbone lengthens, pull your ribs in, chin to your chest. And a little flow here, moving with your own breath. So don't worry so much about, am I doing this right or wrong? And instead, you can even close your eyes and see how this feels in your body. Maybe there's a particular part of this stretch that you want to hold and breathe into. So that's this other thing that can show up on our mat, this worry about, am I doing the pose right? Is it perfect? Does it look like the person's pose next to me? Can we catch that and instead say, that's not what matters. What matters is my experience in my body in this present moment. And can I let that guide me? Inhale, come back to a neutral spine, and let's find child's pose. So here you'll take your knees wide, big toes together, send your hips back towards your heels, walk your arms out, and your forehead can come down to the mat. If it doesn't reach the mat, you can stack your fists and rest your head this way. And if this is not a pose where you feel like you could rest in, or if there's any pain or numbness, tingling, you can do this on your back by hugging your knees into your chest. Tune back in with your breath. See if you could draw your breath down into your belly here. And take just a moment to see if there's anything else you could let go of, any tension that you're carrying physically, any stories that you've been caught up in mentally, anything that's not serving you now in this moment. See if you could consciously just intend to release it. And as you do this, maybe you find that your heart is able to melt down towards your mat a little bit more. And then inhale, come on up. And we'll move into downward facing dog, our first down dog. You'll take your hands wide on your mat so that your pinkies are touching the edges of your mat. And then dial your hands out. So typically we kind of put our hands down like this, where our index fingers, if we brought them forward, would touch each other. So we want to dial the hands out so that if we slid our hands forward, our index fingers would just be on train tracks and never touch. So find parallel lines there. Bring your wrists underneath your shoulders. Walk your knees a little bit back. Find your hips. Tuck your toes under. And then press down into your hands. Lift yourself up and back into down dog. And keep your knees bent on this first one or the whole time. You can keep your knees bent, especially with tight hamstring stuff. With your knees bent, see if you could widen your sitting bones. Reach your sitting bones more up towards the ceiling. Press into the bones of your index fingers, your thumbs. Lengthen through your arms. Lengthen through your side bodies. and then reach the crown of your head towards your thumbs. And if with yoga, with these cues, you take what lands and leave the rest. So if it makes sense, then great. And if it doesn't, then you don't worry about it. Don't forget to breathe. From here, inhale forward, walk your feet towards your hands. When your feet get to parallel underneath your hips, you'll exhale and fold. Knees can stay bent, or you could bring your hands up onto blocks. Especially with, I have chronically tight hamstrings, so these first ones are always knees bent. If that's not your situation, you can straighten your legs. But what you want is to keep length and neutrality in your spine and not lose that just for the effect of having straight legs. On your next inhale, lengthen your spine halfway, reach your sternum forward, and as you exhale, lift your belly and fold. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. 1 more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bow in. Then press down into your feet. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to your heart. Take a moment, pause here. Keep your gaze really soft or close your eyes. Feel the beating of your own heart. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel what it's like in your body in this moment, in this room, on your mat. This practice of just calling the awareness back to this moment again and again. And then from here, open up your eyes, take a look down at your feet, see that they're parallel, sitting bone or hip distance apart. You could take them a little bit wider than your hips, especially if balance is a little challenging. And then press down into your feet, fire up your legs, kneecaps lift, so your legs are working and engaging here. So Sam, widen your heels just a little bit, just your heels. So that instead of toes out like this, feet are a little more parallel. Okay, so now with your legs engaged, kneecaps lifting, quads are engaging, you're rooting down through your feet. Then inhale and reach your arms up. So you can feel these 2 lines of energy. So ground down through your foundation, which in yoga is whatever's on the floor. And then you lengthen and reach up through your fingertips, finding this more organic, long line of energy. Breathe in. And as you exhale, swan dive forward and fold. Bring your hands back down to the ground, reaching blocks. Inhale, lengthen halfway. And then exhale, step back, downward facing dog. From here, we'll move through vinyasa. So we'll take this first one slow and together. So from down dog, you'll inhale, come forward to a high plank position, which is a high push-up. And then once you get there, bring your knees down. When you bring your knees down, notice if you kind of collapsed. We don't want to do that. We want to keep the pelvis lifted, the abs engaged, the rib cage pulling back, soften right behind the heart. And then from here, you're going to pick up your feet. Keep your feet flexed. Good. Then with your shoulder blades connected to your back, lower yourself all the way down onto your belly, bend your elbows back as you go all the way down. Keep your knees bent, feet up towards the sky. And then just feel into the front of your hips. And maybe you can even bring your hands here. Like mine, there's like this space under there that I can bring my hands into. So we want to lengthen the hip flexors. To do this, pick up your right knee, lengthen it towards the back of your mat. And then bring it down. Do the same thing with your left. Pick up your knee, make your leg longer towards the back of the mat, and then bring it down. And then extend both feet, both legs. Press the tops of the feet down. Do you feel the difference in the front of your hips and thighs there? Maybe more space. Now take your shoulders up, back and down, so that They're not collapsing towards the floor, resisting gravity. Your heart already starts to lift. Press into your thumb and index finger. Slide your heart forward and up, little baby cobra, little back bend. Press the tops of the feet down, sides of the neck, and the ears move back. And then exhale, tuck your toes, down dog. Couple of breaths here. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. As you exhale, step your foot all the way up in between your hands. Maybe it takes a couple of steps. Maybe you walk your hands over to the left, and that helps you get your foot forward. And then you bring your hands back to frame your foot. But the end goal is that your ankle's underneath your knee. So it's got to get way up, more than you think. Then press out through your back heel. Hug your legs in towards each other. Keep your left hand down. Inhale, sweep your right arm up. Twist. And then here, bend your elbow, right elbow, bring your fingertips to your shoulder. And curl your shoulder back to open up your heart to twist a little bit more, then extend the arm out in line with the shoulder. And then see what comes up. You know, we're not just like hanging out like this at home, most of us. So maybe this is wildly uncomfortable. Maybe it's just a little uncomfortable. Maybe the uncomfortability of it feels good because you've done it, you know, thousands of times. Notice what comes up for you and see if you can bring yourself back to the present moment and just breathe through it, knowing that it will end. We will come out of this pose. And see if you could just stay present. Exhale, release your right hand down. Step back into downward facing dog. And here's where you have some options for your practice. You can flow right through another vinyasa. You could stay right here in down dog and breathe. You could come into child's pose and chill. We'll all meet back in downward facing dog. And then as you inhale, take your left leg to the sky. Exhale, lunge it forward between your hands. Help it all the way up. Left knee over the left ankle. Press your right thigh up to the sky. Hug your legs in towards each other, pressing out through your back, feel super strong. Then you can lengthen your spine, sternum reaches forward. Breathe. Right hand down, and you must sweep your left arm up. You can do the same thing here, where you bend your left elbow and bring your fingertips to the head of your arm bone to your shoulder, and then curl the shoulder back, open up from there. Exhale, release. Step back into downward facing dog. Same options here. Stay in down dog, move through vinyasa. We'll all end in child's pose and meet there. In this child's pose, lift your head and walk your hands in just a little bit. And then you'll take your right arm and cross it in front of you. Bring your forehead down onto your right forearm and walk your left fingertips forward. Just a couple of breaths go like this. Then you'll go ahead and switch. So the left forearm bends, bring your forehead down. To rest right on top of the left forearm. Make your way back into down dog. Once again, right leg lifts as you inhale, step it forward as you exhale. This time, pivot your back heel down. So we find what's called heel to arch alignment. Your front heel dissects the arch of your back foot. Once you have that, cartwheel your arms up, come on up, warrior two. And then bring your right fingertips to the center of your head. And see if you could take the center of your head and line it up right over your tailbone. So the tendency in warrior two is for everyone to lean forward this way over the front leg. And what we're looking for is Tadasana, is mountain pose, is a neutral spine in yoga. So we take that left side body back, extend your arms out in line with your shoulders. Look down your front knee, track it over towards your second toe so you can see your big toe. Flip your palms. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back. Keep that. Turn your palms back down. And then relax your shoulders a little. Gaze out over your right middle finger. And breathe. Notice the response in your body when things get difficult. For most of us, it's holding the breath. Right? These are ways where we start to try to control an uncomfortable situation or grasp that control is more like it. Like, oh, if I just clench my jaw, this yoga pose will be a little easier. This situation in life will be easier, right? If I just hold on to all this tension. So see if you could let that go here. And soften just a little bit. A couple more breaths. Cartwheel your arms down. Pivot your back heel up. Bring your feet so that they're on railroad tracks here. And then take your back knee down. This is another situation where you could have the knee. And really, you want to be more towards the base of the thigh rather than on your kneecap itself. And this could just be in and of itself a huge stretch. Maybe you come up onto blocks if it's a little too intense. And so some of you are just going to stay like this. This might be it. Or maybe you bend your back knee, lift your back foot, and this becomes a big thigh stretch. Or you could inhale your right arm up and then reach back for your foot or your ankle. And if that just sounds like madness, then you stay at one of those other positions, one of those other places of pause. Exhale, release wherever you are, and very slowly make your way back, downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa, option to stay in down dog, option to relax in child's pose for a few breaths. From downward facing dog, inhale your left leg to the sky, exhale, step it up in between your hands. Pivot your back heel down, find that heel to arch alignment. Once you have that, Root down into your feet, feel them connected to your mat, and inhale, cartwheel your arms up. Warrior two. Find that center of your head and see if you can line it up right over the base of your spine. Take a look down your front knee. Guide your knee towards your second toe so that you can see your big toe. Flip your palms, shoulder blades on the back of the heart. Keep that, palms back down, and relax your shoulders. Find a balance of effort and ease. Where do you need to work a little harder? Where do you need to hug in or engage more, pressing through your feet, hugging your legs in towards each other? And where do you need to let go and not work so hard? Check in with your breath, with your tongue in your mouth. Can you find a moment of stillness where maybe it feels like you could just stay here forever, even though you know that that's not the reality of your situation? But that's presence, right? Where we're just fully in the moment. Exhale, cartwheel your arms down, pivot your back heel up. Bring your feet onto those skis or railroad tracks, and then back knee comes down. If you use blocks on the first side, you can take them on the second. See that you're not on the kneecap, right? So we don't want this 90-degree angle here. You want to bring the pelvis forward as you stretch the tummy. And then you can decide, like, this is my edge. It's where we come into discomfort, but we're not in pain. We stay and linger and hang out there. Or you could lift up your back foot. Maybe that's a good place to pause and stop. Or you can inhale, left arm up, reach back for your foot or your ankle, and take the bind. And know that one of these is not better than the other. These are just different stops on the same route because everyone's in a different body. And then everyone's in a different body every day or every hour, right? Like last night, I have 2 little kids, and I went to grab my youngest who was trying to get away from me in bed. It's bedtime. He's like, get back here. And I just tweaked my knee in such a way that I'm like, this is not the same body that I had 5 years ago. I can't do the same things the same way. So we just be really present with what's here right now. Go ahead and release all of that. Make your way into downward facing dog, and this is your option to take a final vinyasa. Sometimes it's a nice one to take when you know it's the last. And then we'll make our way down onto our backs. So this is a good time to hydrate. Just drink of water. This is where I try to figure out the lights, even though I'm here every week. I just can never do it. So come down onto your back, take a full body stretch. If you feel into how good it feels to just lay down. Stretch from your fingers to your toes. And then from here, bend your knees and place your feet on the ground so that your feet are parallel, sitting bone or hip distance apart. Cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh. Flex your left foot. So you're really keeping this leg engaged. And this may be your pause. This may be a big hip opener for your body. That your body and your mind say, this is good, I'm gonna hang out right here. Or you could pick up your right foot and interlace your hands behind your right thigh or on top of your shin. And if you're taking that variation, you'll slide your hands down so that they're not behind the knee, but rather they're in the belly of your hamstring muscles. And then press your thigh into your hands. Use your hands to hug the shape of your legs back in towards your body. Take your shoulders back and down. Feel the weight distribution wherever you are on your low back, your sacrum. See if you could level that out instead of kind of collapsing over towards the left. Both feet stay flexed and active. Relax your jaw. Let your tongue get heavy and wide. Soften and smooth out your forehead. See if you can feel your breath in your belly. Our yoga practice asks us to shed that which we need not carry. To let go of this excess tension, of overworking, to give ourselves permission to relax in a space that's safe for us to do so. And so mentally we may know this, but physically we do this by deepening the breath. Because when we practice this diaphragmatic breathing and take the breath out of the chest and into the belly, then we send a signal to our brain that we're safe. And then the nervous system can relax. And when the nervous system relaxes, then the body can operate and function fully. Go ahead and release the clasp of your hands, if you have it, and bring your right foot back down onto the ground. Pause here with your legs still in this figure 4 shape. And take your arms out into what I call cactus or goalpost position. So your elbows are bent, your elbows are in line with your shoulders, and your wrists are over top of your elbows if you're one of those. I forget what's Seguro cactuses, what's the name? And so anyway, you take a breath in here, and then as you exhale, drop both knees over to the left so that your left heel kind of presses down onto the side of the right thigh and gives you a little IT band stretch there. And if that doesn't feel good on your body, you don't do it. And then look out over your right shoulder. Inhale, come back up for center. Release and change sides. So both feet come down onto the ground, parallel, and then cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Flex your right foot. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the pose for you today. Or you could pick up your left foot, interlace your hands, slide your hands down to the middle of the femur, not behind the knee. Notice the distribution of weight on the low back, level that out. Keep both feet active. And then see what's happening in your shoulders. If you could take them back and shoulder blades onto the back of the heart so that the collarbones can get a little broader, a little more expansive through the heart center. And then come into your breath. there's a teaching, I think it might be rooted in Buddhism, but I'm not positive about it, that says that your mind has these basic 4 buckets or compartments that it will kind of put thoughts into. And they are things that the mind likes. This is good, like this. Things that the mind doesn't like, which can be a very big bucket. And then things from the past and things from the future. So in our yoga practice, we can start to notice when the mind kind of goes into those 4 areas or compartments, and we can lovingly guide it back to this present moment. Letting go of everything that happened before right now, letting go of everything that's yet to come. Letting go of the narrative of judgment that we all have, of yes, good, no, bad, and instead just being fully in the moment as best we can, again and again, coming back to here and now. Go ahead and release, bring your left foot back down to the ground. If you lifted it up, take your arms into cactus or goalpost. Take a breath in with your legs in this figure 4 shape. Take your knees over to the right. And get a little IT band stretch by pressing your right heel into the top of the left thigh. But if that doesn't feel good on your body with your knees, then you just take your gaze out over your left shoulder. Inhale, come back up to center. Bring your right foot down onto your mat, parallel to your left. And then toe heel your feet as wide as your mat. And let your knees knock in onto each other in constructive rest. You could play here with how close your feet are to your seat, taking them a little closer, a little further away, and seeing what feels good. But you want to find a position where the legs can support each other so that you don't have to do the work to pull them up. This is a really great pose for releasing the psoas muscle, which is this big muscle that's what allows us to stand upright as humans and walk. But it's also so deep in the body and connected to the root chakra and can hold on to stress and fear. So taking time to let that tension that's so deeply rooted in the body begin to unravel is really helpful, really nice. So this is a good one to do at home. You could just lay on your floor, not commute. Inhale your knees up, but keep your feet wide like this, on the edges of your mat. And then we're just kind of coming to a little flow where you'll inhale and then exhale, knees over to the right. Inhale, knees back up. Exhale, knees to the left. Little windshield wiper. Inhale, center. Exhale to the right. And then you can add in your head. So as your knees come over to the left, you look out over the right shoulder. And then as your knees come over to the right, you look out over your left shoulder. And find a little flow like that, moving with your own breath. And then the next time you come, we'll do one more each side. So after the left, come back through center and then hug your knees into your chest. You can give yourself a little massage here on your low back. Maybe you make little circles with your knees or rock back and forth. And then bring your feet back down onto your mat. This time, take the soles of your feet together and your knees wide in Supta Baddha Konasana. So this is reclined butterfly. You can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. If this is too much on your hips, you could take a block under each thigh and give yourself a little structure and support. Or at any time, if you need to come out, you just come out. See if you could fill up the space underneath your hands with your breath. And then once more, check in with your jaw, with your tongue. Can you let the skin on your face hang slack, relaxing your cheeks, your forehead. Widen the corners of your eyes. Let the eyeballs drop back. And then perhaps you could even drop your awareness back and down into your body so that you're dwelling more in the space of your heart rather than the space of your head. Inhale, knees back to center. Hug your knees into your chest. Take your knees wide, soles of the feet up towards the sky for happy baby. So you can either grab onto the pinky toe edges of your feet here. If that's not available, don't worry about it. You can grab your ankles, or you can even wrap your arms around the backs of your thighs and clasp hands. It's all about that shape of the legs, not where you're holding them. And then you could hold this in one position, or you could kind of rock side to side. Coming back to that time when we were all happy babies, where just being enamored with our own feet was enough. Just for a moment here. Then whenever this pose feels complete for you, go ahead and make your way into Shavasana. So for Shavasana, you extend your legs long and let your feet gently open to the sides. You could take your feet as wide as your mat. Bring your arms down by your sides with your palms face up. Arms far enough away from your body so that a nice warm breeze could reach your armpit. And then notice if you're resting more on your pinky finger or your ring finger, and see if you can take the shoulder blades onto your back so that your hands, the backs of the hands, are resting more on the middle finger, knuckle, if that makes sense. Then let's all take a deep breath in. Let it out with a sigh. And give yourself permission to fully surrender into Shavasana, making yourself as comfortable as you like. Props, blankets. And here I will offer Reiki in Shavasana. Reiki is just a universal light energy that your body knows what to do with. If you don't want to receive Reiki, it's no big deal. Just raise a hand or a foot now and I'll pass you by. Otherwise, you'll just feel my hands on your head. Very gently begin to deepen your breath. Draw awareness back into your body as you wiggle your fingers, your toes. You can start to slowly move and stretch in any way that feels best for you. When you're ready, hug your knees into your chest and roll to your right side, pausing here, just giving yourself a moment of transition. Whenever you're ready, make your way back up to find a comfortable seat. And once you arrive in a comfortable seat, close your eyes. Bring your hands together one final time at heart center. And take a moment to call back your intention that you set at the beginning of class. Feel free to modify or change it in any way so that you can carry it with you off of your mat, back out into your life. And then take a moment to honor yourself for this work and practice, for showing up today, for practicing being fully present on your mat. And take a moment to honor each other for our shared collective experience. Let's end our class and seal in our intentions with a final cleansing breath. Take a deep breath in. Let it go with a sigh. Gently bow your head to your heart. The light within me recognizes and honors this very same light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for your practice. So good to be here with you. I won't be here next week. Just check the schedule to see if there's a sub or if class will just be canceled for the week. But then I'll see you the following Saturday. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thanks, Erin.
So much, Debbie. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.